Hi, this is Matthew Robert Payne, and this is a new chapter for a book. The book is called 71 Helpful Writing Habits You Can Learn from Self-Publishing 91 Books. This is chapter 52, and the title of this is Be Aware that people pay more attention when you're talking about yourself rather than the subject at hand. So speak about yourself often. On the chapter titles Word document that I've got for this chapter, I've got the title, Be Aware That People Pay More Attention When You're Talking About Yourself rather than the subject at hand. So speak about yourself often. In this book so far, we've spoken at length, I believe, about using illustrations out of your own life. It's very important, as we've already shared, that you use illustrations out of your own life. I can only repeat some of the things that I've shared before to make my point. I find when I read non-fiction books by authors, when I've picked a book that I like the title, I like the back cover blurb, the back cover description, I read some of the reviews, and I've spent my money and downloaded the book. When I read a book and it hasn't got many illustrations out of the author's life, and it's just talking about a subject, it's just teaching you a subject, I find the book to be dry and boring, and many times I shut down my Kindle and stop reading the book. Personally, I'd really like to read 100% of the books I buy, or I'd like a couple of the prominent reviews on the Amazon page to say this book was too hard for me to read. It was too dry and full of facts and didn't inspire me in any way. I wish a couple of reviews on the front page would say something like that, but I continue to buy books that put me to sleep, and I just won't continue reading if I'm not interested. And I find one of the main things that inspires me to read is when an author is constantly talking about himself and using illustrations out of his own life to prove a point. You've come across many chapter titles that talk about how to write a book, and I don't think you'd personally believe that I didn't have expertise in writing books if you read these chapter titles and you read what I wrote in the chapter, each of the chapters. Each of my chapters are sprinkled with personal stories out of my own life, and that continues to have each chapter be engaging. If you want to teach a subject well, it's good for you to have experience in that subject and be able to be relatable and share experiences out of your own life that proves that you're an expert in that subject. As I've already shared, you can go to college courses, you can go to university colleges, you can buy that $1,000 program to write a bestseller. But if you don't apply the information that you're taught, if you don't apply knowledge, well, then you don't develop wisdom. So it's in the application of knowledge that you develop wisdom and you have success in life. So when you're explaining the thing that you're teaching the people, you're teaching people a certain concept in a book, you're expressing certain information in the book, make sure that you sprinkle that book with many testimonies of how you put the knowledge that you're teaching in that point to practice, and what were the ramifications of you putting it into practice. Share a story about each of your points, about how you encountered that situation and you overcame in that situation because you applied certain knowledge to it. People are always encouraged and engaged when you share your personal information and your personal stories about a subject. I shared with you that I've sat through many boring sermons in church, and that happens for a number of reasons. And I want to add that I don't want you to assume that I'm a really prideful person and I just can't be taught anything. But it's true that not many Christians walk with the level of faith that I have and experience the things that I do. But even amidst the boring sermons, I used to get fully engaged with the sermon when the preacher started to speak about his own life. So remember that. Remember the times where you've read a book and you've been engaged when the author has been talking about himself, or remember when you've been watching a YouTube video and the person on the video starts talking about their own life and one of their own life experiences. Remember how excited you become and how engaged you become when you hear them share their personal story. And don't hold back on your personal stories, because you're going to have the same effect on people as you write your book.